Hello my beautiful buds. Welcome back to my channel, Sprout with Joy. My name is Joy, and if you like to talk about plants, you are in the right place. Like everyone else on the internet, I'm going to be talking about my planty wish list for 2023 in this brand new year, which is crazy. Obviously it happens every year, but every year I get caught off guard. I considered making a video kind of reviewing last year's wish list and the plants that I got from it and the plants that are like still on it and the plants that I kind of dropped off my wish list, stuff like that. Like I thought about doing that, but I don't know if I'm gonna have time to film it. But if you guys are interested in that topic, let me know and I can address it in a future video. I don't know, reviewing my old wish list might be fun because it is not the same for this year. And I think I got about half the plants that were on that wish list. But we're gonna talk about this year's wish list now. So buckle in. All right, so these first two plants, I'm just gonna like get them out of the way really quickly because they're plants that were on last year's wish list that are still on this year's wish list. And those two plants are oh my god, I cannot talk today. Those two plants are the Aglaonema chocolate and the monkey tail cactus. I still really like both of those plants and I've had opportunities to buy them, but it just wasn't the right time. Like there's an Aglaonema chocolate that the leaves are just so beautiful, and I would love to add more Aglaonema to my collection, and I would say it's like one of my favorite Aglaonema that I've seen out there, period. So I'm definitely interested in it. But the ones that I've seen in person at like a local plant store were just a little bit too big. Like they were like pretty massive plants. So number one, they're kind of on the pricier side, and number two, I don't have space to like be introducing really big plants into my collection, you know? And then the monkey tail cactus, I had an opportunity to buy like a really mature, beautiful one, but it was like $150. So I was like, I don't know if I want to commit to that. So yes, I did not get either of those, even though I kind of had opportunities to, but they're still on my radar, still plants that I really like and that are really beautiful. Okay, the next one on my list is kind of like it's definitely a more unusual plant, and I think that we'll be seeing this a lot in the new year. Like a lot of people that have been into houseplants for a long time. I mean, obviously there's a whole thing that happened back in 2020 that prompted a lot of people to get into plants. And so obviously it's been like 3 years since that point. I can do that. But now that we've kind of gone through your typical philodendron and your typical Hoya, and we've gotten into begonia, we've gotten into all these different genera that you can get into when it comes to houseplants, I think it's gonna become more and more common for people to try to find more unusual houseplants and unique houseplants, not necessarily expensive houseplants, which has been more of the trend, but plants that are actually really different from the rest of the plants that are already in our collections. So for me, Carly G, the queen of houseplants, relatively recently one of her videos bought a Senegalia Burke off of Etsy, and when I saw that, it was love at first sight. So I have been browsing the internet for Senegalia Burke, and I am definitely, I mean, it is on my radar. It's like a little miniature tree, and I'm pretty sure it's native to Africa, so I'm a little bit nervous about trying to care for it and do well by it. But I think I'd be able to do it, and I think it's just such a unique looking plant, at least compared to the other plants that are in my collection. I think it would be a beautiful addition. The next one on my list is a Syngonium. It's the only Syngonium on my list, and it's kind of two different Syngonium that are similar that I would be very content with either one of them. So there's the Syngonium Frosted Heart and the Syngonium Chia Pence. And I think these are like, let me double check this right now because I don't have facts. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So there's a Syngonium Macrophyllum. Frosted Heart is kind of like the cultivar, and Syngonium Chia Pence. They're both very similar types of Syngonium, very similar leaf shapes, very similar textures from what I've gathered. I haven't actually owned either of them kind of obviously they're on my wish list. As an aside, I think this year when it comes to my houseplant collection, I'm seeking after plants that are, it's less like specific plants and more like types of plants that I'm hoping to get into, if that makes sense. Because I have a Syngonium erythrophyllum and I have several Syngonium podophyllum cultivars. So I think the next step to rounding out my plant collection in the Syngonium arena would be to get Syngonium macrophyllum or Chia pens, something kind of like that vibe. And then once I get that, I feel like I will be relatively, I mean, I'm already fairly content with my Syngonium collection. I'm just kind of seeking after different experiences, and I think it's fun to have a rounded out collection rather than having a bunch of plants that look the same. Because like, for example, I love the Philodendron gloriosum and I would be totally game for having it in my collection, but I don't think that I'm ever actually going to seek one out or buy one myself. I mean, if someone gave me a Philodendron gloriosum, obviously I would be happy about it, but I don't think I'm gonna ever add it to my wish list because I already have the Philodendron summer glory, which is a gloriosum hybrid, and I have a Philodendron mame, which is a crawler that is kind of similar to the gloriosum, not necessarily in its look exactly, but it does have those big pillowy leaves and it's a crawler. So I don't know, you'll have to let me know if you're feeling the same way about the types of plants you're adding into your collection. I don't know, like I don't necessarily need multiple plants that are different species that have the same exact vibe, you know what I mean? Anyways, the next plant on my wish list is the Begonia Greyfeather, which I just think it's just so beautiful and delicate looking and soft looking. I really enjoy my Begonia maculata whitei. It's probably one of my favorite plants in my collection at the moment. So I would love to get into, like, break into more begonia because I only own 2 different begonia species. And so when I look at the list, I've also considered Begonia amphioxus, I guess, as like an honorable mention. As an aside, if you hear any fussing or anything like that, my husband's trying to put my toddler down for her nap and she's not having it. So that is toddler rebellion right there. So yeah, Begonia Greyfeather, I think it's beautiful. Wild Fern has one in her collection and her collection is absolute goals. So yes. The next one on my wish list is the Epipremnum amplissimum silver streak. And in general, I mean, I really enjoy Epipremnum. I've been particularly enjoying my Epipremnum pinnatum albo variegata, which was on my wish list last year, and I got it. And it's one of my favorite plants right now, kind of like the Begonia maculata. I definitely haven't fallen out of love with like my typical pothos and Epipremnum aureum, but I would love to get into other kinds of Epipremnum that are kind of beyond the aureum species. I don't know, the amplissimum has such long, really cool leaves, and particularly the silver streak, I think. I mean, it's silver, like what is there not to like about that? Yeah, I mean, I generally really like the way that Epipremnum grow, and they're typically pretty easy, so I'd expect that this would also be a relatively easy plant. Yeah, I've been not quite foaming at the mouth, but I've been really wanting to get a fernleaf cactus. And I think the botanical name is like Selenocerius chrysocardium. I would much rather be saying fernleaf cactus, so if you don't mind. Selenocerius chrysocardium. Selenocerius chrysocardium. I can say it, but that's... no thank you. If you've been on my channel for any length of time, and if you've seen any of my recent videos, I feel like I say this a lot, that I really like my rickrack cactus, and I really like jungle cactus, and I only own 1 jungle cactus, but every time I see a different kind of jungle cactus, I'm just like, please, yes, I would like that, yes. And the fernleaf cactus is just like my favorite of all the other ones that I've seen out there. I have seen and kind of had the opportunity to buy fernleaf cactus. All the ones that I've found have been rather large and intimidating because, I don't know, I feel like I need to add some more hooks from which to hang plants from the ceiling for the sake of space, but also unless it's in this room or in my bedroom, I have to be really pretty careful about where I have my plants just because I have a toddler, and if she has access to plants, I mean, she's gotten used to them at this point, so she might be fine, but I don't want to risk it. I have an area in mind for it, so I don't know. Stay tuned. And if you don't have any jungle cactus yet, what are you doing? You should try it because I love my rickrack cactus. Oh, this is another one that was from last year that I definitely still would like. I don't think I want it as much as I did before, but I still could vibe with it. It's the Maranta Lucanora Massangiana. Just the silver band Maranta. So with this one, I really like prayer plants. I love my Marantas. I think that they are awesome. I found them to be pretty easy to take care of. So I'm definitely very open to getting a silver band Maranta, but I feel like I don't want it as much as I did last year. So I might wait a little bit longer before jumping on it. I don't know. If I were to see it in person, I would maybe get it. So it's kind of on my wish list, kind of not. It's kind of like a, I would maybe buy it. And then same for, so there's 2 philodendron on my maybe list that, I don't know, again, they're kind of like honorable mentions or something. I'm actually fairly content with where my philodendron collection is at presently. I kind of want to just focus on growing them out. But if I saw a philodendron Campos Bortuanum or a philodendron Tortum just at the plant store for a reasonable price, I would probably pick it up. But I don't think that I'm going to seek either of them out super intensely or anything like that. So yeah, those are, I guess, those 3 that I just said are just honorable mentions, I guess. If I saw them, I would probably pick them up, but I'm not specifically looking for them. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And then, I guess another one that would kind of fit that category is the Platycerium veitchii. So it's a type of staghorn fern, and I did get a, oh gosh, is it the bifurcatum or something like that? Whatever the most common staghorn fern is that you can get, I got that last year and it was on my wish list last year. So if I were to get another type of staghorn fern, I would probably want to get the Platycerium veitchii because it's just stunning when you look at it. And I was looking through other types of staghorn ferns because I really like mine. It definitely stood out to me as a really cool one, so I would also pick that one up probably if I saw it. But again, I don't know that I'm necessarily gonna seek it out crazily or anything, or hunt for it. It would just be, it's oh yeah, that's kind of nice if I were to get that someday. Okay, so with those out of the way, there are kind of 2 final categories in terms of my plant collection this year. I would love to round out my anthurium collection and my Hoya collection. Not necessarily with super specific species that I want, but more kinds of Hoya and anthurium. So honestly, when it comes to anthurium, I know that you can do this with a lot of plants, especially philodendron. You also hear about this happening, or begonia, stuff like that. You can hybridize plants, but for some reason, anthurium hybrids in particular really fascinate me. And I don't think that I'll be able to fully delve into the anthurium world until I get some sort of a controlled growing situation, like a greenhouse cabinet or a grow tent or something. Just because anthurium do tend to be a little bit more finicky when it comes to humidity and light and that sort of thing, at least based on the way that people treat them on the internet. If I were to invest into that this year, I would be really interested in getting into anthurium hybrids. I've heard about Dock blocks and crystallinum hybrids. The anthurium doriaki is technically a crystallinum hybrid, although I think it's kind of kept under locks, specifically what it's hybridized with, based on what I've seen. So I love the look of the doriaki, so that would be just an anthurium in general I would like. But yeah, I just want to get into more. I love the 2 anthuriums that I currently own, which is the clarinervium and the crystallinum. And I don't know, I would just love to get a few more that are just really cool and different. And I like them a lot. Okay, and then when it comes to Hoya, I kind of want to get my hands on all the different kinds. You've got your big leaf Hoya with really pronounced veins, and you've got your Hoya that are more, to put it in unplant parenthood terms, Charmaine, dumpstery Hoya or trashy Hoya that look weird and crusty. And you've got your Hoya that are kind of prehistoric looking. So I particularly like those 3 categories. I know there's also smaller leaved Hoya and stuff like that, which I don't think I'm quite as into at the moment, but I would love to get my hands on. I feel the Hoya calistophylla is kind of a staple Hoya in a lot of people's collections, so I would definitely be open to getting something like that. It kind of fits that big veiny leaf that looks kind of prehistoric, and similar to the Hoya meredithii, that leaf is so large and the venation is so pronounced and dark, and I Love it. And then when it comes to like the more crusty Hoya, I've seen the Hoya Caudata Sumatra like in person, and I think it is so cool. Just how they're so unique and weird looking. I think it would definitely kind of round out my collection because, I don't know, I think ugly or funky looking plants are just kind of awesome. It's just fascinating to me. Like, not all of them. I mean, okay, believe me, I love the plants that are like aesthetically pleasing as much as the next person, but then there's like the plants that are just oddballs, and I love them. I just think they're so cool and weird, and I would love to have more of those for my collection because I feel like most of my collection is fairly standard. It's like you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, that's objectively beautiful. But what about the plants that like are objectively kind of ugly, but you love them anyway and beautiful in their own way? Sign me up, please. Another one that's kind of like that is also the Hoya undulata. I especially love how the edges of it are like squiggly, like ripply, like they, I mean, to drop an obvious word, they undulate, like they're wavy. They are similar to the Caudata Sumatra, where it kind of looks like it's growing moldy patches on it or something. And it has really unique coloring, and when it sun stresses it can get really intense. So yeah, I would love to try out some of those kinds of plants. Again, I don't necessarily need all of them, but if I were to get like one Hoya that looks really prehistoric and one Hoya that looks really trashy and another Hoya like the Hoya Sarawak that just has these massive gorgeous leaves, I mean, I think that would be pretty cool. Why did I just do that? Okay. Well, I hope that all of that makes sense. Let me know if any of those plants also pique your interest, and I would love to hear about your wish list for 2023 down in the comments. Like, what's your number one wish list plant? I have a really hard time like determining my number one wish list plant. I don't think that there are, out of this list, I couldn't tell you what my like number one would be, because I'm really bad at doing that, and I just know what I like when I see it. And also, I don't necessarily think that I'll like be getting all of these plants in 2023. It's more so these are plants that are really on my radar that have caught my eye. I'm definitely thinking a lot of like, where in my house would I put these plants, and kind of trying to strategize. And of course, I'm always kind of thinking about, okay, how can I fit more plants into my house, because I love them and I love taking care of them, and I love having my house look like a jungle. So yeah, I hope that you have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye-bye!